The perspective grid in Illustrator is used to place objects on a perspective plane. So let's activate the perspective grid tool. So in the tools panel, if we scroll down, here we can find the perspective grid tool. So once we activate this tool, so we can see the left side and the right side. We can adjust objects and place them in a perspective plane. So first thing, let's see how we can control this perspective grid. So here we have the controls. So we can just move these controls here. So we can see we can resize the perspective grid tool here, and we can also move the perspective grid by just moving this control. Here we can see we can just move it and place it wherever we want. And then here we can see to the top left corner we can find the icon here, the perspective grid icon, or we can say gizmo or whatever. So here we can just select which side we have to place the objects. Currently the right side is active. We can also select the left side. Here the left side has turned blue, and we can close the perspective grid by just clicking on this close button. That's it. And if we want to bring it back, there is a shortcut. We can use Shift Control I or Shift Command I to bring the perspective grid back. And now let's see how we can place objects on this perspective grid. First thing, here in the tools panel we can see the two tools, perspective grid tool and the perspective selection tool. So we have already activated the perspective grid tool. Now we will select the perspective selection tool. The keyboard shortcut for this is Shift V. So we'll select this perspective selection tool, and we will select this word RS. Currently the left side of the grid or the left grid is active. We can see the blue color here, and we will use this perspective selection tool and drag this RS and place it on the left side, and then we can resize it and adjust it to the size of this grid plane. That's it. And we will do the same thing with this word art, but we want this art word on the right side. So here we will select the right grid. Now the grid has turned orange, and now again we will use this perspective selection tool and then just drag this art and place it on the right side. So we have adjusted the text on the left and right side of the perspective grid. Now to turn off the perspective grid, we simply need to use the keyboard shortcut Shift Control I in PC or Shift Command I in Mac. So this is a simple example. Let's do one more example with the perspective grid tool. Let's create a simple house-like structure, and let's place this house-like structure on this perspective grid plane. So we will select a rectangle here. We will give it a dark color, a little bit dark greenish color, and then we'll create windows. So let's give a dark blue color for the windows. So what we'll be doing is we'll just create the panels or bars for the windows. So we will just make it simple. So you can create more complex structures, but for this video we will just make it simple. So we'll just create a simple window bars. That's it. Right, so now we will just select this entire object or entire set of objects, and then we will group them. So we will simply hit Ctrl G in PC or Command G in Mac. Right, and then we will just place this window on this rectangle, big rectangle, and we will just scale it down. We'll just keep it here. Right, and now we will create a door. So for door I will be using this rounded rectangle tool, and we will just give it a dark color or a black color, and then we will just delete the bottommost point, and we will select the bottom 2 points, and then we will right click, and here we have the option join. That's it. This is a door. That's it. And we can use this transform tool, free transform tool, and make it a little bit wide, something like this. Right, so this is better. So we can make it more fancy. We can spend some time and make it fancy, but for this video this is enough. Right, so now let's create the other side of the house or the house like structure. So we'll make it a little bit light greenish, so something like this. And then we will just duplicate this window, and we can actually let's place it on the left side only, and here we will duplicate this door. We can simply hold Alt or Option and drag and create a duplicate here. Right, now we will group this entire object. This is very important, and we will also group the left side object. Right, now we got the two sides of the house. Now what we are going to do is we will activate the perspective grid. So we will just activate the perspective grid here, and then we can just place the perspective grid at the center. We can just click on this control and then just keep it exactly at the center. Now we will fit these sides of the house on both left side and right side. So what we will be doing is we will be now activating the perspective selection tool, and then we will first select the left grid here, and then we will just drag this the left side of the house, and now we will adjust it like this, and again we will change the grid to right grid, and then we will again use the perspective selection tool and then drag this right side structure and fit it properly onto the grid. So here we got, and one thing we can do is we can also place the stairs if you want. If you want stairs, it's optional, but for that stairs we need to activate the bottom side here. So here we can see the left, right, and here at the bottom we can see this bottom side. And we can do one thing, we can just zoom into the structure here, and then we can just create steps. So, and we can also give it some color, a different color if we want. We can give it some color. We can just find a different color if you are not satisfied. And then again we want a vertical grid. So here we will select the right grid, and again we will just create something like this, and we'll continue creating. So something like this. And then we have to create a structure on the left side. Again we will select the left grid here, and then we can just create something like this here, like this something. And we can give it a different color here if you want. And we can also adjust this properly if we want. So we have to use this perspective selection tool and adjust it properly here. And we can just send it back, or something like this. So here we can see we have also created the stairs for the house. And now we will turn off the grid. So we can see here we have used the perspective grid and created a house-like structure. So this is all about the perspective grid tool. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Please do like, subscribe and share, and keep watching RS Art and Media.